I'm Ira Schaefer, and this is the Patriot Channel. Today is still 8/5/2025. Well, that's a difficult thing to say. I couldn't believe that. It's August 5th, 2025. And I want to take some time to talk about family history. Not just the immediate family, but do you like genealogy? I love it. My sister loves it too. And so we talk about it very often. Hope she doesn't get mad at me for mentioning it, because I'm posting these videos in addition to my YouTube channel online. So the fact of the matter is that I've got to set the timer, because if I don't set the timer and watch the timer, I'm in big trouble. So hold on a second. Let me set that timer. Start it. Yay! Okay. There we go. I've only got 15 minutes on each of these videos, so there you go. Alright, so family history is important to my sister and me and my brother Philip. I just mentioned another name of another family member. I'm so sorry, don't kill me for it. Nah, I wouldn't kill me for it. Nah, I'm confused when I say that. They'll probably say something to me, and I'll say I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my brother and my sister. My brother and my sister. Okay, so going back to family history. Family history has always been an important thing to me personally. I didn't really know that my sister and my brother were as interested in it as I was. I can remember when I was a kid growing up, I took to so many funerals and visitations that there was a point in my mid-childhood, say I was a tween, where every time the phone rang, I thought to myself, oh no, who died? That was how many people were dying among the family and friends of my family. And so we became well acquainted with cemeteries. Well, I found out that cemeteries were more than just repositories of dead bodies. They were repositories of history. Now, one of my favorite channels, and I hope he hears about this and says something to me, is Faces of the Forgotten. I love Faces of the Forgotten. And there are several other cemetery channels that I really like. And the reason why I like cemeteries is because they tell the history of our nation. They may be not big stories, but interesting stories. Things that say something about who we are as a nation. And that's what I like about cemeteries. To me, they're not creepy. I wouldn't go to one at night. I'm smarter than that. Been around too long. Never have been to one at night. Never was one of those teenagers who thought that it was hilarious to go to a cemetery and act like a fool. So thankfully, I never did that. But I think that going to cemeteries does two things. Number one, it is a place of remembrance for our loved ones. Number two, we need to understand that these people contributed to our lives in many different ways. Even if mom was a pain in the neck, even if dad was the meanest man on the block, we had experiences with these people, and we need to acknowledge that and take some time to say hi, how you doing? And be loving towards these people. These people are important members of our community. Even though they've gone, they're members of our family. They influenced us, and our family's friends influenced us in some ways sometimes. My mother and father had friends galore, and they were a huge influence on me. Sometimes I wish that I knew where my Sunday school class teachers are buried. Go out and visit them, because it's good to have a place of remembrance. It's good to go out there sometime and just take some time alone. Most cemeteries are very peaceful places. I know there are some cemeteries where things get loud and obnoxious, and I know that some cemeteries, especially Catholic cemeteries, have banned parties going on in their cemeteries. I've heard those stories. Don't know who's doing that. Don't know where that tradition came from, but it's certainly not something that I would do. It seems odd to do that, but Other cultures believe doing that is a great thing. And I'm not going to argue the point there. I'm not going to condemn them for that. I'm just going to say it's my cup of tea, okay? Now, as far as family history is concerned, that's my phone talking to me again. As far as my history is concerned, I found a lot on especially one genealogical website that I can't name because they're not paying me. And I'm not going to promote them unless they pay me because I'm just that way. Meanie. Anyway, this particular website has me connected with family members that I'm not sure that I knew existed. Some I knew existed, but I never knew anything about. I'm learning things about my 7th great grandfather, my 10th great grandmother. I'm related to every single president of the United States except for Martin Van Buren because, according to Family Search, everybody but Martin Van Buren is descended from John I of England, and so am I. So, not that I can bank on it, which I could. Family Search also says that I'm related to Lucille Ball. Isn't that fun? I'm also related to Elvis Presley. Now, if I had known I was related to Elvis Presley when Elvis Presley was still alive, I would have gotten in line for one of those free vehicles that he was always giving away to complete strangers. You know, that would have been cool, wouldn't it? But hey, you know what? I did hear from a pastor, an independent fundamental Baptist pastor, who met him in an elevator. I'm talking about Elvis Presley. He said that he asked Elvis Presley if he was saved by the blood of Christ, and Elvis Presley said yes. He knew Jesus Christ as his personal Savior. And I hope that Elvis knew what he was talking about and was honest and telling the truth. That would be great to see anybody in heaven, but especially someone to whom somebody witnessed. Now, what's fun about family history? Like I said, most of this stuff I couldn't take to the bank and deposit it as cash. It would be kind of nice if Lucy Arnaz and Desi Arnaz Jr., saw this video and came up to me and said, hey, we'd like to get to know you better, Mr. Schaefer. And I'd say, that'll be fine with me. Not because they're rich, but because they seem to be kind of fun. I'd like to meet some of these relatives out there. Who knows what kind of fun we could have together? What kind of memories we might share? For the first time in my life, a few years ago, thanks to this particular genealogical website, which shall remain unnamed until they start paying me to name them, finally saw a photo of my great-grandmother, Lucinda Lee. Her full last name is Lucinda Miller. Let's see if I get this straight. Lucinda Miller Werner Hansford Lee. Yeah, I got it in the right order. Yeah. Because Hampton Warner was her first husband, and that's where my great uncle Iraa came from, that marriage. And I knew my great uncle Iraa despite the fact that he lived to be 108 years old. Mom loved him. I don't remember why Mom was particularly enamored of great uncle Iraa. Oh, she was around for me to ask, but she's been gone for quite some time. And in 3 days, it'll be her 100th birthday. I might even post something for her 100th birthday. But she took me down to Florida one weekend to see him. Oh, and I ran up into his arms. The mother was going to have a heart attack because there's an 8-year-old boy and a 95-year-old man. He was 95 years old at the time I met him. And great uncle Iraa slips me up into his arms and gives me a great big hug. And mother's about ready to just explode in horror as she's imagining great uncle Iraa collapsing to the ground because he's got little Iraa in his hands. Well, that didn't happen. And he lived to be 108 years old. He had been in the Spanish-American War. He had served in the Philippines. And you can look up his obituary. His name is Iraa M. Werner. Werner. Just like Druckenford. Maybe they're related to me. Who knows? No, I'm not kidding about that. But you look up his obituary, and you'll find it online on this particular genealogical website that I won't name. But if you find out what it is, I can't do anything about it. And I say, look him up. Iraa M. Werner, find a grave. You can find my find a grave. I shouldn't have said that, but oh well, because they're not paying me either. They better start paying me now. Okay, that's just being funny. Okay, so we need to learn more about our own family history. Who did we come from? Who influenced us? Who influenced the people who influenced us? Imagine that. One of the great things for me to know is that there is such a long line, generationally speaking, of saved people. Let's talk about being saved, because I love talking about being saved. I kind of promised myself that I would talk about being saved in each and every video, so here we are. Everybody in my family that I personally know is saved. My brothers are saved, my sister is saved, my parents were saved. I never knew. Well, my grandmother was saved. I presume that my grandfather was saved, and because I knew of his salvation testimony, and his father was more than likely saved by the blood of Christ too. My great grandfather Davies, we're talking about on my mother's side now. My grandfather Davies was born in 1867 in Pontypridd, Wales. That's just outside of Cardiff, Wales. And according to the records of one of my uncles, I want to say it was Uncle Richard who wrote that particular story, if my great-grandfather had been one level lower in the mine, my great-grandfather was the foreman in the mine. If he had been one level lower, it would have been illegal for my grandfather to go to school. Can you imagine being in a society where it is illegal for you to go to school? A lot of kids say, yay, we'd love to have that way, but it's not a great thing to be legally refused your education. But he was discriminated against that way, so I understand what discrimination is. So, what I want you to know is that you can know Jesus Christ as your personal Savior just by asking Jesus Christ to come into your heart. I'm running out of time because I'm only allowed 15 minutes on these videos. So, look up the Simple Plan of Salvation online. SimplePlanOfSalvation.com. SimplePlanOfSalvation.com. Look it up on Google. Do a Google search, okay? You have a great day. God bless, and I hope you get saved. Have a great day. Thanks a lot.